Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with our very first episode of Anarchy Road, our homegrown Necromunda campaign that is taking place in the ash wastelands of Necromunda. It's also a vehicle-based rules, and the campaign rules thing that we have for this is self-made. You can actually download those rules off of my blogger site. And this brings us to battle report number 66 for Necromunda. This is a road war scenario that is fought between the pit slaves of the road crew versus the Jury of House Orlock. My buddy Dark Lord Mac is playing the road crew, and I am playing the jury on this one. So we're super excited about this campaign. We've been, ramping up and revving it up for a couple of years now, toying around the idea of actually doing a vehicle-based campaign setting in Necromunda in the Ash Wastes, and now all of our work and fruition has come to this now. So we're really super excited about it. So we're gonna play some background music real quick. As the background music is playing, we'll show you photos of both gangs as well as their stats. You can pause and take a look at your leader to see exactly what they're bringing. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario rules for this one is Road War. It is a classic skirmish that is fought between rival gangs in the Ash Waste. Both gangs mount their vehicles, they head into the wastelands, and they fight each other. In this situation, we're playing on a 4x6 table, and pretty much how it works is that we have what's called a rolling road rules that are being attached to this one, which means that we're traveling from left to right, and whenever we get within a couple inches of the right-hand side, all the terrain move shift down to the left 6 inches, to represent the fact that these guys are fighting on a highway is what ends up happening. Both gangs set up their gangs on opposing table edges 12 inches away from the table edge, and of course roll a d6 to figure out which one of us will be going first. Ending the game ends when all opposing fighters are out of action or if a gang decides to bottle out. Now for the experience rules on this one, in the experience rules we actually have a higher experience gain for fighters using a road war tactics, because whenever you fight on the Ash Waste, our rationale for it anyways, is that the learning curve out in the Ash Waste is much more steep because you're playing for keeps on this one, so you actually get a lot more experience in our campaign setting. So in this situation, anybody who survives earns d6 experience points. You also get 5 experience points for taking enemies out of action, and the winning gang leader also earns 10 bonus experience points. For rewards, the winning gang earns d6 times 10 credits, while the loser earns d3 times 5 credits. In the case of a draw, both gangs receive d3 times 10 credits. For reputation, the winning gang earns d3 points of reputation, 1 point of reputation for the loser, and 1 more point of reputation. The gangs are fighting each other for the very first time, and of course if any gang balls out, it's minus 1 point of reputation. So with the Road Wars rules over with, let's go on and talk about our battle plan for this one. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the table. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x6 table. I am deployed on the left-hand side of the table, while Dark Lord Mac is deployed on the right-hand side of the table. And pretty much my plan is just to get stuck in as quickly as possible. I'm playing Orlocks. I like to shoot it up, so I need to get within range and take on my opponent. The only thing I gotta worry about, however, is that my opponent has a light vehicle. He's got a little sentinel on the top called the Shipbreaker that's mounted with a laser cannon. So I do have to worry about that weapon, because that thing could destroy and one-shot my vehicle if I'm not careful. So my goal here is to just go head straight towards my opponent, try to take him out that way, and then of course deal problems that come in. This is the very first time we're actually playing our scenario rules, so I don't know what the real best tactic would be in this situation, since these are all experimental rules, so we're just gonna have to roll it up and see exactly what happens. So we're really excited about that. So with the battle plan over, let's go talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so let's talk about the deployment for the Jury of House Orlock. So you can see right there we have my vehicle, the Tumbler. The Tumbler is a large vehicle. It's got a weapons cache with boomsticks inside of it. It's also got a tool locker, spare parts chest, as well as 2 polecat boarding pikes. It's also got a turret-mounted grabbing claw as well as a hull-mounted heavy stubber. And also on board that vehicle is my entirety of my gang. I have Riptor as my road captain. He's got a mesh armor, a Rockatansky special, double-bladed knife. He's also armed with a combat bolter with a grenade launcher. He's also got the commanding presence skill. Also in the front there, with the bright yellow mohawk in the cab, that's Limited Head. He's my road sergeant. He's got a mesh armor. He's armed with a combat bolter with a grenade launcher. He's got a fighting knife, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, as well as a big brother skill. At the same time, I also got Johnny, who is my arms master. He's armed with mesh armor, he's got an arc hammer, a stub gun with dum-dum rounds, he's also got the nerves of steel as well as rule of iron special rules. And in the back, in the front, driving the vehicle up in the front left, that's Darkside. He's a gunner who's armed with mesh armor, a Rocketancy special, and a fighting knife. And next to him in that little crow's nest there, that's Tetsuo. He's also my gunner as well. He's got mesh armor, auto pistol, and a fighting knife. And in the back, I got a greenhorn named Reptile. He's equipped with mesh armor, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, and a fighting knife. And I also got 2 wreckers, which are the brand new elements that are being recently released in the Book of Iron. Now, I don't actually have wrecker miniatures yet. I'm in the process of actually getting those put together and painted up. So until then, I'm just proxying them with some normal, just regular Orlok gangers. I have Tango and Reese. They're both equipped exactly the same way. They're both equipped with flak armor, stub guns, dum-dum rounds, fighting knives. They also got jump boosters. They also got the hot-headed as well as fast learner skills. And that pretty much makes my deployment on this one. Now I jump over to this side of the table, the Dark Lord Max Road Crew. So on the left-hand side, he's got a vehicle called the Wrecker is what it's called. It is a large vehicle. It's got a hull with the hull upgrades for this one is polecat boarding pikes ×2, a weapons cache with boomsticks, as well as a tomb locker. And at the same time, in that vehicle, we have a couple of fighters. We also have Spartacus, who's his pit slave chief. He's got armor plates, paired shears, a plasma gun. He's got the commanding presence and escape artist special rules. In that vehicle, we also got Doc Dioga in the back. He is a servitor who's armed with the armored plates with shears. He's also got a heavy stubber. He's got the industrial machine and escape artist special rule. Also driving that vehicle is Buzzkill. He's a pit slave. He's armed with armored plates. He's got a buzzsaw, stub gun, dum-dum rounds, and escape artist skill. And of course, we've got 2 more members of the vehicle. We also have Val the Impaler as well as Crixus. Val the Impaler is armed with armored plates. He's got a rock drill, stub gun, dum-dum rounds, and escape artist skill. And Crixus, he's got the armor plates, shears, stub gun, dum-dum rounds, as well as the escape artist skill as well. And finally, at the top of his deployment area, we have the Shipbreaker, which is commanded by Mayday, was one of his characters. It is a small vehicle with a walker, so it's got 2 legs. It's also got a tool locker on the hull, and it's also got legs for drives, and it also got a last cannon, which is also hull mounted too. And also driving that is Mayday. She's the techno for this gang. She's armed with a last gun. She's got the escape artist as well as a fixer skill. And that pretty much makes up deployment for these guys. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Dark Lord Mac and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Pit Slaves, and for his very first activation, Dark Lord Mac activates Mayday. Mayday spins a basic action, move forward up 12 inches, because this thing is wicked fast, and takes another basic action, open up with its last gun. Luckily for me though, my opponent missed the shot, and the reason why is even though she's got a ballistic skill too, what ends up happening in our rule campaign setting is that unless you have a skill that says otherwise, for every 6 inches that your vehicle moves, you actually lose 1 point of ballistic skills. Now, for weapons that are hull mounted, like for example the last gun in this case, it's only -1 because it's only you ignore the first 6 inches of movement, but because she moved up the full 12, it's -1 to hit against, and unfortunately for her, she rolled a 1, so because of that, her shot missed. For my X activation, activate Darkside. Darkside is the driver of the tumbler as well, and in our rule setting, vehicles can't be part of a group activation unless you buy certain equipment for them. So because the driver just moves by himself, I did a double movement, moving up forward 16 inches, so that way I can actually go into pursuit against my opponents. For my opponent's next activation, he decides to activate Buzzkill. Buzzkill tries to chuck one of his boomsticks directly at my target since I was in range with him to hit the tumbler, but unfortunately for him though, he missed his shot and was able to do so. And then for my next activation, then activate my gunner. Tetsuo opens fire with a heavy stubber that goes directly into the wrecker there. Managed to put a wound on the vehicle, which is absolutely fantastic. And that pretty much makes it that little action phase there. And for his very last activation, my friend decided to activate the Wrecker, which is piloted by Crixus. Crixus spends a double action to basically make the vehicle flip 180, so that way you can start driving away and try to escape as quickly as possible. And since he kind of flipped 180, I also brought him to the edge of the table to where we have the rolling road rules. So because of that, all the terrain shifts down at the end of the turn. So here's the end of the turn number 1. As you can see, all the terrain is shifted to the left 6 inches, represents the fact that these vehicles are fighting on an open road, so the terrain shifts downwards. Pretty much uneventful for the first turn. I got really lucky on this one that Mayday missed her shot in the last cannon, because otherwise it could have been really, really bad. At the same time, I'm now pursuing my opponent. It looks like Dark Lord Mac is going to try to pull away with the Wrecker and have the Shipbreaker cut in from the left and try to shoot me that way, which would be really, really bad. So now that turn number 2 is over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and we roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 2, and the Orlocks managed to get the initiative on this one. So for my very first activation, I activate Darkside once again. He does a double movement forward, moving up 16 inches, going between the wrecked bridge there, the left-hand side, as well as the ruined office building on the right-hand side. I'm trying to get off the main drag, and the reason why is because I don't want Mayday to come after me with that last cannon, because that thing can one-shot vehicles and kill them all if you get a really bad roll on that part. So I'm just trying to escape her for the most part because I don't want to get shot at. So with that, Dark Lord Matt goes next. He then activates Mayday, and because the vehicle has legs, it can climb vertical surfaces. That's the rules that we have for this one. So she does a double movement as well, moving up 24 inches. She moves a couple inches to the bridge there that's in the middle of the battlefield, and spends the rest of her movement climbing up to the top of the bridge over there with an overlooking shot with that last cannon, because that thing is absolutely terrifying. So I'm trying to escape this thing, and this thing is still hunting after me. So from an activation, I then activate Riptor, who does a group activation using his Commanding Presence ability. He also activates one of my fighters as well. Riptor tries to open up with his bolt gun as well as Limited Head's bolt gun directly into Mayday. I do manage to hit her, but I don't cause any wounds. And since she's a vehicle, she doesn't get pinned, so she's perfectly fine. However, for my next two activations, though, I activate my two wreckers, Tango as well as Reese. Tango goes rocketing up 11 inches to the top of the office building, the right-hand side, and Reese does exactly the same thing, moving up 10 inches onto the top of the little pillar there that's in the middle of the battlefield, making her way directly towards Mayday, which is absolutely fantastic. And then because I did that first activation with Reese then takes a boomstick with him. Tango takes a boomstick with him, and he tries to lob it directly at Doc Dealgood, who's the guy who's right in the back of the wrecker. Not only do I manage to hit that guy, I also managed to wound him and put him out of serious injury on him, which is absolutely fantastic, as you can see in this photo. Boomsticks are actually a really powerful weapon that we have in our campaign. In fact, you can see a lot of the vehicles carrying them. Boomsticks have the range is your strength times 4, so in this case it was 12 inches directly to the back of it, and since he was the closest target, that's why I had to go after. At the same time, it's also a strength 4 weapon. It's got -1 AP. It also causes 2 damage, so it's really, really good to use against vehicles and stuff. So I opened fire with the boomstick directly into Doc Dealgood, hit him center of mass, also knocked him off the vehicle as well. He failed his initiative test, and he also got a serious injury put on him as well. I tried to do exactly the same thing with Reese, have her attack with her boomstick, but unfortunately she missed her shot. So at the same time, Dark Lord Matt then goes next. He then activates, Crixus, who's the driver of the wrecker. He moves the vehicle up the double moon to the edge of the table as well. Now you might be wondering, why is he trying to disengage me so quickly? And the reason why is because I am dangerously close to one of the terrain pieces of my vehicle, so if he can trigger the rolling road rules, I could accidentally smash directly into that objective piece. Unfortunate for him, though, when he decided to do it, though, he was about an inch off from being hit, so because I got really lucky, because otherwise I would have smashed directly into that office building if it wasn't for that 1 inch, so that part was pretty crazy as well. However, what was not so great, though, is that Crixus, because he uses simple action to move forward 8 inches, he uses another simple action, basic action, to chuck a boomstick directly to Tango. Managed to hit him as well as cause a wound, too, so that part was absolutely insane. Luckily for me, though, he managed to pass his initiative check, so he didn't fall, but he got a serious injury put on him. So right now, my wrecker Tango is on the ground bleeding out, wishing that he wasn't dead at this point. So with the action phase over, to go directly to the recovery phase, I roll for Tango, and unfortunately for me, I rolled a serious injury still, so because that he's still laying on the ground bleeding out. And the same thing happens to Dark Lord Mac with Doc Dealgood. Now, if you wonder what that little red one died for, that was supposed to be for the wrecker. He unfortunately forgot to move it to his vehicle, but don't worry, he takes care of that later on. So with the action phase over, we go directly to the end of the turn number 2, and as you can see, the rolling road rules have been activated. As you can see, all the terrain shifted down 6 inches, and you can see how I'm just 1 inch away from being clipped by that building, which would have caused impact damage to the tumbler, and that's what he was trying to do when he moved over to the edge of the table. As you can see there, we got the Alexander's department store has now popped up in the bottom right-hand corner, as well as a piece of ruined building on the top to represent the new terrain that's coming into the building. Like I said, not much happening right now. Dark Lord Mac's trying to escape me so that way I can't shoot him, and I'm starting to take the offense with my wreckers. So with turn number 2 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, and we roll for initiative to see which of us will be going first. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 3, and once again the Orlocks manage to get the initiative on this one. So the first thing I do is I activate Tango. Tango uses her jump booster to charge directly into the shipwrecker there, and actually manage to board on that vehicle. Now to board an enemy vehicle, what you have to do is pass an initiative test. And luckily for me, wreckers have a pretty good initiative with initiative 3, so I was able to climb around board and actually attack in close combat, which is absolutely fantastic. So I have armor than the fighting knife, as well as a stub gun with dumb rounds, and since I charge, I get an additional attack die for 3 dice. And the best part about it is because I attacked from charging from a jump booster, I get +1 to my strength. So because I managed to put Mayday in a serious injury, so that part was awesome, absolutely awesome. So she's currently on the ground bleeding out as well, which is great because in the next turn, if I manage to go first, I could put a coup de grace on her and finish her off. That's assuming, of course, she doesn't get a flesh wound off during the recovery phase, which would be an absolute nightmare because then she could just shoot with her last cannon if she wants to, and that would be absolutely devastating. So for my opponent's next turn, Dark Lord Mac activates Crixus once again. Crixus actually does a 90-degree turn real quick on his vehicle, spending one of his basic actions to do that. And the next thing he does, of course, is try to open fire with his boomstick again directly into Reese this time, is what he tries to do. Unfortunately for him, though, he was unable to hit Reese because he just missed the shot. The angle's kind of off for him. And at the same time, he also failed an ammo check on this one, too. Now, in case you guys aren't aware, with our Road War rules that we have for a campaign setting, for ammo rolls, if you're using weapons that are not specifically from the Ash Wasteland weapons table in our campaign, your ammo roll automatically comes as a 6+. It's to represent the fact that ammo is hard to come by in the wilds of the Ash Waste. So because of that, I fails an ammo roll in that part. So right there, so you can see that you got a little ammo icon there for him as well. So that part was kind of crazy. So for my next activation, I didn't activate my driver, Dark Side, who then throws the tumbler into full reverse. We go back 8 inches backwards directly towards the bridge. That way I don't actually smash into the building. And I basically use my double actions for that because going reverse uses up your action points. So that makes up my activation. Meanwhile, Dark Lord Mac decides to take this off the road, and he decides to activate his Pit Slave Chief Sparkicus. Sparkicus also does a group activation of Val the Impaler and Buzzkill. Those guys both climb off the vehicle. They send a spinball action to come off the vehicle first, and then of course Sparkicus opens up with his plasma gun, while Val the Impaler as well as Val the Impaler and Buzzkill, they do a basic action move up forward as well, 4 inches. Unfortunately for my opponent, Pin Slaves are not exactly the quickest guys, but they're absolutely devastating in close combat, so it looks like he's taking the offense. Once again, the Pit Slave Sparkicus, he opens up with his plasma gun directly into the tumbler. Managed to slip past my toughness as well as put 2 wounds directly into my vehicle, so that part was absolutely horrific. He decided to try to shut down my vehicle by destroying my hull, so that was not cool whatsoever, so that part really sucked. So with my next activation, I then decided to fix it Felix real quick by activating Riptor. Riptor then also does a group activation with Johnny, as well as Darkside, as well as Johnny, with Lemonhead, Johnny, as well as with Tetsuo. So Tetsuo and Lemonhead, they decided to do basic action by trying to do repair skills on my vehicles, and repairing is a simple action to do, and since I have a tool chest as well as a spare parts kit, I get +4 bonus for intelligence checks. To do a repair on your vehicle, what you need to do is pass an intelligence check with those bonuses, of course. And if you do, you can repair 1 point of toughness or 1 point of wounds on your vehicle. And so luckily for me, though, I managed to pass those tests and managed to predict away the 2 damage I had on my vehicle, so that part was kind of insane. And as the last part of my group activation, I then take, Johnny. Johnny does a basic action, a simple action to dismount the vehicle, another simple action to move up forward. His normal mounts of 5 inches. I'm having him go up the ramp in order to join up with Reese to help him take out Mayday, and hopefully what I can do then is take over that rig. The 2 of them can then hijack the wrecker if I can, the shipbreaker, and if I can do that, then I can steal my opponent's vehicle and bring it to my own motor pool, which would be absolutely fantastic. So with the action phase over with, we go directly to the recovery phase, and unfortunately for my buddy Dark Lord Mac, Mayday still rolled a serious injury, so she is completely vulnerable, and I got 2 gang members getting ready to attack her in order to hijack the shipbreaker. At the same time, Tango gets a flesh wound, so he flips back over his belly. He's got 1 flesh wound put on him now, so that part's kind of rough, but he can still fight, he can still move, and he can still be a threat to my opponent. And unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, Doc Dealgood is still seriously injured, so he is still laying on the ground bleeding out for the most part. So with the recovery phase over with, that takes us directly to the end of the turn. And here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. Because Dark Lord Mac decided not to go to the table edge like he did last time, none of the terrain moves, it just stays exactly where it's located at. And things right now are not looking very good for Dark Lord Mac. His fighter Mayday is now seriously injured, and if I manage to take her out of action, I can hijack the Shipbreaker, which is her Warwalker, and I can bring that into my motor pool, because that rule applies for our gangs. At the same time, Doc Dealgood is still on the ground bleeding out, and my other fighter Tango, he's slowly recovering. So this next turn is going to be very, very important for our gangs. So that being said, we go directly to the next turn. We roll for initiative to see which of us will be going first. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 4, and the Orlocks man gets the initiative on this one. So with Reese, I decided to do a coup de grace real quick for a simple action by taking out Mayday. I put a humiliating injury on her, so she automatically goes to recovery, loses a point to her leadership as well as to her cool. And then I spend another simple action to actually board the Shipbreaker, which means now that I have successfully hijacked this vehicle. Now, if you want to make sure that your vehicles don't get hijacked in our Road Wars campaign, what you need to throw is what's called kill switches on your vehicles. And what kill switches require require you to do is pass several intelligence checks for you to hijack the vehicle. Unfortunately, Dark Lord Mac did not put that on the shipbreaker at this point, so because of that, that vehicle is now in my possession. If he can take it back by the end of the game, he can reclaim his vehicle, but if it's in my possession by the end of it, this vehicle becomes mine. So with that, we go directly back to Dark Lord Mac. Dark Lord Mac does a group activation once again with Sparkicus as well as Buzzkill and Val the Impaler. Buzz the Kill and Val the Impaler, they run up as quick as they can doing double movements directly towards ramps so that way they can take back the shipbreaker. And this time, once again, Dark Lord Mac then takes a basic action to have Sparkicus aim with his plasma gun and decides to have him open up with a supercharge round this time around. Unfortunate for him though, the shot missed, so because of that, my tumbler is perfectly fine, because if he managed to hit that thing, he was actually aiming for my wheels, and if he managed to hit my wheels on that, he would have damaged and crippled my vehicle. I wouldn't be able to drive. So that would have been really, really horrible. So for my next activation, they activate Johnny, my Arms Master. He actually does a double movement, a simple action to move up the top of the ramp, and spends another simple action to climber up on top of the vehicle as well. So he's also in the shipbreaker now as well. And I got 2 characters driving that vehicle. And that's the maximum capacity you can put on this vehicle is 2 people. Is the only maximum amount you can carry. So for Dark Lord Mac's next activation, the next thing he decides to do is activate Crixus, who then drives up the Wrecker, heading directly back to the ramp, so that way he can help out Buzzkill and Val the Impaler in order to get their vehicle back from the shipbreaker. And because all Dark Lord Mac's fighters are done activating, the rest of the turn is dedicated to me. So the first thing I do is I activate Darkside. Darkside moves the vehicle up as normal moon allowance, so that way of 8 inches. And then the reason why I did that, so that way I could also shoot as well. So then I activate my gunner Tetsuo, who opens up with the heavy stubber. Unfortunate for him though, he misses his shots, and at the same time I also roll an ammo check on that part, so because of that, I'm completely out of ammo for the heavy stubber. Due to the fact that the heavy stubber is not on the Wasteland weapons table, so because that, my ammo check for that is an automatic 6, which is really, really tough on that part. So for the rest of the turn after that, I didn't activate Riptor. Riptor as well as Limit Head decide to open up fire with their bolt guns directly into Val the Impaler as well as into Buzzkill. In the end, Limit Head managed to pin Val the Impaler, so he's perfectly fine, and that kind of freed me up to order to shoot at Sparkicus, in which case Riptor then took a basic action aim with his bolt gun and another basic action open fire. Unfortunate for me, I did manage to hit Sparkicus, but I just pinned him is all I do, so he is perfectly fine at that point. And for my next activation, I then activate Tango. Tango sends a simple action to get back on his feet again, and another simple action to jump down from the top level to the next level down below. And that pretty much makes the action phase for this one. So in the recovery phase, unfortunately for my opponent, Doc Dealgood rolled up a grievous injury, so because of that he goes directly into recovery and he goes out of action as well, and he will not be able to participate in his next battle report. And unfortunately for my buddy Sparkicus, he failed his break test on this part for his bottle test, so because of that, the gang has now broken his bottle test, which means they'll need to take cool checks to see if they stay on the battlefield to keep on fighting. And at this point in the game that my buddy Dark Lord Mac decides to call the game just because he doesn't want to lose any more fighters that he already has. And unfortunate for him, he also lost a shipbreaker because it's currently in my possession, and that's the very first victory for the Orlocks, for my gang, the Jury of the Orlocks, which is absolutely fantastic. And at the same time, also managed to steal my opponent's vehicle, which is really cool as well. So that being said, we go directly to the post game because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, so that takes directly to the post-game. So starting off with the road crew of the Pit Slays. For injuries, unfortunately, 2 members of the gang were injured. Mayday suffered a humiliating injury, losing 1 point to her cools, 1 point to her leadership, and Doctor also suffered a grievous injury as well, so he will not be able to participate in his next battle report. At the same time, however, the shipbreaker was also stolen by the jury. I managed to hijack that vehicle, so because I did manage to hijack it, and now it's in my motor pool. Now for advancements, Mayday leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to her cool check, so she's still back to being a normal cool check of having a 6 up instead of the 7 up. From their territories, from the Wasteland territory, they managed to scrounge up 11 credits from foraging as well. Now the trading post, they managed to get 10 credits from the scenario, as well as 11 credits from their territories, as well as combined with the 40 credits from their stash, gave them a grand total of 61 credits in total. With those 61 credits, they spent 30 credits to buy food for their gang members for starvation. Now, in case you're not aware, in our scenario rules, at the end of every battle round, because the ash wastes are so deadly, you have to spend 5 credits for each of your fighters in order to resupply them with fresh food and water, so that way they can survive in the wastelands, because otherwise they start taking flesh wounds to represent the fact they're starving, so no one wants to do that. So because of that, he spent his credits to feed his gang. At the same time, he took the remaining 31 credits that he had left over and placed it directly into his stash. For his reputation, he earns 2 points reputation from the scenario and also 1 point reputation fighting against the jury for the first time, but unfortunately he also bottled out, which brings his grand total to 2 points reputation in total. His new record now is at 0 wins as well as 1 loss, as his new gang round is at 1,615 points. So with that, we go directly to the jury. For my injuries, nobody got really serious injured in my gang, so everyone's completely fine. And for my advancements, Riptor leveled up to level 2, getting +1 to his toughness. And same thing with my driver, Darkside, also leveled up to level 2 as well, getting +1 to his toughness too. And Reese, she also leveled up as well to level 2, earning +1 to her weapon skill, so now she's even deadlier in close combat. For my territories, for my wasteland, I managed to scavenge up 8 credits from scavenging minerals, and because I won the scenario, I also got a brand new territory. In this case, I got a Grifter territory. And what a Grifter territory represents is that you can actually hire a hired gun of anyone that you want for hang-arounds or hang-arounds if you want to. And either they can help you fight in the next battle report, or they can pay you 2d6 times 10 credits to protect them. In this case, I decided to go with a grease monkey named Blackfinger, and either he gets protection from the gang or he fights for them, in which case it works out either way. And I also got 70 credits for that guy as well. At the same time, Grease Monkey Blackfinger also put overcharge on my wreckers, so that way they can get further jumping distances on their jump boosters. From the training post, I got 60 credits from the scenario, as well as 78 credits from my territories, plus combined with the 40 credits from my stash, gave me a total of 178 credits in total. With those 178 credits, I took out 40 credits to feed my gang, so that way they're not starving to death. At the same time, I also recruited a new gunner named Sorter, and I used him to be the pilot of the Shipbreaker because I have a new vehicle now within him. He's equipped with Rocketancy Special as well as Mesh Armor. And I took the 63 remaining credits I left over and I placed that in the stash. And that's because in this scenario, you need to pay for repair parts for your vehicles. You also need to maintain your gang with food, so saving money is actually kind of important in this kind of campaign setting for us. Now for my reputation, I earned 3 points of reputation for the scenario, as well as +1 reputation for fighting against the road crew for the very first time, which brings my grand total to 40 points of reputation in total. My new record now is at 1 win and 0 losses, and my new gang rating now is at 2,510 points, and that's because I stole the Shipbreaker. So that's good for this one, guys, for our very first battle report for Anarchy Road. It's looking really, really cool so far with our new rule sets. We're liking it a lot. As always, you guys, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest news about the hobby aspect of our channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.